Good day, my friend. Welcome to today's disquisition on what you need to know on what could very well be the end, the finale, the denouement, dare I say, of Hunter Biden. But before we begin, let me start off by doing the obligatory, the mandatory request and imploring of you to please like the video. Make sure you always subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit that bell so you're notified of live streams and the like. And note that today's broadcast is brought to you by our dear friends at mypillow.com. It's wonderful, folks. Use promo code Lionel and receive a free gift. Now, let's start with a couple of things, shall we? Which is very important. I was watching with great interest yesterday to see how people would be, dare I say, explicating the various goings-on of the Hunter Biden plea and what it really meant and what it means and why this Judge Maryellen Noreika apparently stopped everything by doing her job. But before we begin, I want to say something. I didn't want to, I don't know. Let me just do a couple of things here. Number one, I'm not a physician. I am not an otolaryngologist. I'm not ENT trained. I don't know anything about this. But years ago, I was shaving or something, and I looked, and I noticed right here, I had like a kind of a lump or something. It was the weirdest thing. It was a lump, and very, very odd, very, very strange, very, very weird. And I noticed that there was like a mass of something. It was the strangest thing. It was a mass. And it looked almost like I don't know what it was. I just looked. And I said, this doesn't seem right to me. This doesn't seem like it's correct. There's something wrong. So I remember at the time I looked at this there was this Gray's Anatomy about how do you palpate the thyroid cartilage and the isthmus and all of this kind of jazz. And what does this feel like? You know, the thing, by the way, that piece that Abstain had shattered. And it was really weird. I went to friends of mine. I'm saying, do you mind if I feel your throat? People thought I was crazy. But I would feel their throat, palpate their throat, palpate mine. I said, I don't feel this. And I would read this textbook about how you have to look for this particular cartilaginous point. I didn't see it. I went to one doctor. He wanted this. He said, no, you have a prominent thyroid cartilage, an Adam's apple. And I said, no. I said, here's my driver's license before. In 6 months, you don't get a prominent driver's license. Went to another doctor. Same thing. It's nothing to worry about. Went to a third doctor. He grabs my throat and he says, you've got a mass. I said, that's what I'm telling you. Make a long story short, I had surgery. You can't really see it, but right here there's a nice line. I have a thyroglossal duct cyst. Somebody had that recently, some singer or something. And so I'm very, very I don't know what the word is. I'm very, very interested in masses and throats. And I just notice these things. I just kind of notice these things. Make a long story very, very short. If you look at this picture of this judge, and I don't know how old this picture was. Again, I'm not a physician, but her throat, it looks like a mass. It looks like mine was a plum-sized mass. I read the pathology report, and anyway, make a long story short. So when you see this picture of her today, just notice this. Again, what do I know? I'm not one of these people who go on TV and go, I'm an expert in this. So what happened was, going back to this is so important. This is why this is such great news. When you go into a court and the defense and the prosecution announce a plea agreement, it's usually for a good reason. It might be because of leniency. It might be because in the best interest of justice. It might be a lot of various stuff. But in this case, it's different. First, what is commonplace is you will enter a plea to the most easily proved, but the most serious charge. You enter a plea to something. Not to mention, let me rephrase it. You're indicted. You're indicted with something because that stops the statute of limitations. If this agreement falls apart, whatever it is, if Hunter does not follow the terms and conditions, if he does not remain clean, if he does all this stuff to make make a long story short, if he violates it, there is a plea that was entered that you can go back to where you can resurrect this particular case. Here, there was no plea that was entered. And the judge says, what is this? This is a plea agreement. This is if Hunter Biden agrees to be good for the next whatever period of time, we're going to drop these 2 misdemeanors. He says, what misdemeanors? What are you talking about? They were never charged. Well, they were potential. Potential? He's entering a plea agreement, and you're going to drop charges that have never been charged yet? Wait a minute. And the reason they suspect is to allow the statute of limitations to increase, to run its course, to just continue, and thus, and this is important, end, just go away. So that later on, if something were to happen, if somebody says, hey, whatever happened to that plea agreement? You go, oh, you know what? That's over. Well, Hunter violated the terms. Well, let's bring the charges back. Well, we can't. What do you mean you can't? Well, the statutes of limitations have run. Well, did you indict him? No. You never indicted him? No. So they wanted this just to continue, to create the illusion, the perception that something was being done. So let me say this again. They're trying to pull a fast one. But the judge didn't want any part of it. And what they really wanted to do is then you ask the question, what about double jeopardy? What is he entering a plea to? Do you have any charges that might be floating out there which could be or might not be affected by his entering? He didn't really enter a plea, but in the disposition of this case. Is there anything else out there? Any other charges? Anything that's being investigated? And the answer is, well, yes. And the answer was really no, because the charges that were not being investigated, the charges that would have driven people the most crazy, the people that would have made people the most angry, are the cases involving Burisma. That's the issue. That's the case. So the judge said, you know what we're going to do? Let's just forget this, tear up whatever this agreement was, enter a plea. Okay, to these, I guess it was a plea of some sort. It was an information. It wasn't even an indictment. I mean, this case stunk. And both sides had to be careful not to say too much to let people know what was being done. Both sides had to protect, well, no, we have other charges pending. What? You've got other charges pending? Well, we can't go along with this. And they have to feign. I mean, do you know when somebody, when if you're working, let's say, at a dollar store, and somebody walks in with a big bag, a big trash bag, and starts taking things off the shelf and walks right out, you might ask yourself, are they stealing? Could this be this blatant? No. Could it? No. That's what's happening here. And I still don't know what happened regarding this law firm that called the court and basically said, take this particular document or this filing off. I don't know what happened with that. That will get you so crucified in terms of legal, penalties and the like. So let me just go back to it. The best person I like so far is Andrew McCarthy, Andrew C. McCarthy. He appears on Fox News, and I think there are really good people. And I like the fact, I want the nuts and bolts practice of this. He was a chief assistant U.S. attorney, assistant AUSA. He knows the rules and regulations regarding the Department of Justice, what can and cannot be provided. Very straightforward, not a big partisan, not a huge Trump fan, but not a Trump enemy. He's very, very, very good. I like what he has to say. He's very, very down the line. Some people are so biased, they can't see it one way or the other. And I don't like that. Some people do not like the truth. Some people like to hear all things that are beneficial to Trump or beneficial or detrimental to Hunter Biden. I don't do that to you. My biggest problem has always been, I am not here to service a particular ideology. I'm not here to make the Republicans feel good or the Democrats feel bad. It may seem like that because that's what I happen to believe, but that's not my thing. What is happening here ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there. Anyway, what's happening seems to be as follows. It's like we're listening and we're hearing noises in the wall and we're hearing wood shatter and creaks and cracks and thumps, and we're going to say, this wall is going to fall. This wall. I'm hearing this. That's what's going on right now. Listen to me. Do you have the time to focus on what I'm saying? Listen to me. This is good news. There are some times when certain things just don't work anymore. There are times when bad people get caught, serial killers get nabbed, a whole lot of things happen. There are times when things just kind of, when you can call it justice, evil, whatever. And depending upon the situation is a different thing. Hunter Biden is the lightning rod. And I want you to imagine that I am somebody who, in any event, I hope I'm reconnected. Very good, very good. There are people who for the longest time have said, now listen, we don't know where you're going with this Joe Biden thing. By the way, Joe Biden is exactly the same age as Mick Jagger. You understand this? Mick Jagger is the age of Joe Biden. Let me just make sure you understand this. And for the longest time, people have said, all right, we want to pursue a particular political ideology. And Joe Biden is the guy. All right. Did they sign on to him because he was an idiot? No. Do they like the fact that he was an idiot? No. Do they think that somehow his stupidity somehow encourages? No. They don't want any of this. They feel almost, in many respects, double-crossed by him. Double-crossed that they were put through this. But they waited. They were told, just sit tight. A lot happened since January of 2021, January 20th. That's how long everything took place. Joe Biden began to deteriorate wildly. At the same time, Hunter Biden started to act reckless, to become exposed, and a lot of the elders said, who's this? This is Joe Biden's son. Is he going to get into a problem? No. Is he going to be a problem? No. This doesn't help us. Don't worry about it. We got it covered. Okay. Carmelita Harris, what about her? She's fine. No, she's an idiot. No, she's not an idiot. She's fine. Are you sure about that? Yes. Okay. You sure about that? I'm sure about that. Okay. And it got worse. And it got worse. And then the corruption. And then they're saying, wait a minute. What Joe Biden is doing has nothing to do with us. This is pure, old-fashioned graft. This is nothing but old-fashioned graft. This hurts us. It destroys our cause, destroys our movement. This is something that is doing absolutely nothing. Don't worry, we got it under control. I don't think so. I don't know so. And they've been moving, forward, doing their stuff, destroying everything, destroying the civilization as we know it. Sovereignty, Klaus Schwab, the whole bit. But now they're saying that's enough. Joe is too old, too enfeebled, too out of it. This son of his, apparently you have no interest whatsoever in reeling him in at all. We have lost all faith. Cut bait. In a book today, in a book that is released, Tucker Carlson submits that he had to be released by virtue of Rupert Murdoch. He had to be released. He had to be moved. He had to be taken out pursuant to the Dominion settlement. Had to. In this case, they are saying Hunter Biden has to be taken down and taken out for us to purge ourselves of this. Sparky says in the 1960s, a couple of guys in Corvallis walked into the Varsity, an Atlanta restaurant, and took a color TV, as if they were taking it away for a maintenance in front of everybody. They stole it. Absolutely right. Thank you, Sparky. My mother one time was working when she was in high school at a Sears. And these guys walked in with coveralls and took a big canoe. They just walked right out. Well, today it'd be no problem because you can see this all the time. Sometimes the best way to do something is to do it right in the open. But what you're seeing, and what we're seeing right now, is specifically a lot of people on the left who are saying to themselves, enough, 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 enough. Enough with this lunacy. Enough with this idiocy. Enough with this craziness. Enough with what we're seeing. Hunter Biden has got to go. He's got to stop. We've got to end this. This is not funny anymore. This is over with. We can't. Once he is out of the picture, once he is removed and dispatched, then we can move on. It has hit critical mass. The people who have been pushing the war machine in Ukraine have also suffered. Burisma, Ukraine. What is going on? Are Ukrainians the good guys, the bad guys? What's going on here? Joe Biden at the CFR actually bragging to people, announcing to the world, and I told them that they better get rid of that prosecutor he actually said this. He said this. You can't believe what you're seeing. It's beyond anything anybody's saying. So it's come to a head. Gavin Newsom is getting ready. Gavin Newsom is now being positioned to end the strike. You see what they're doing right now? Gavin Newsom couldn't end a fight between two kids, but they're doing everything to position him. You're going to start seeing him take a different leadership role, as I've been telling you since the beginning. Gavin Newsom is going to be the Democratic nominee. And what's accelerated this and sped this up? Remember, this is all part of why Biden's got to go, Hunter's got to go. Get rid of them. Who? Bobby Kennedy. Words cannot describe to you. Words cannot describe, cannot explicate or limn the catastrophic, the existential threat that Bobby Kennedy poses to the Democratic Party. There's just no... Because for the first time, there is an invigoration in the Democratic Party, but from the Republicans. There is also a newfound understanding that the parties are an anachronism. Nobody thinks parties anymore. Nobody. It doesn't work. They're over. They're done. We don't think left and right. We think borders. We think crime. We think safety. You're going to see groups like Log Cabin Republicans, gay Republicans who say we're against this gender surgery. And I mean this. And by the way, gender surgery. Going back to the groups of people who represent. Remember, you and I are part of the globalist food chain. We are the richest, most powerful people. We've picked a... There we go. We're back. Sorry about that. We're back. I don't know what's happening. I'm noticing today all of a sudden there's a bit of a glitch, but maybe make a long story short. Let me go back to where I was. Please let me know. We 5x5. Let me know. I will not continue until... Very good. Thank you, Liz. Liz is always there. Going back to what I was saying, if you represent the globalist concerns, if you're a part of the Bank of International Settlements, if you're part of central bankers, if you're Rothschild, Bilderberg, you're everybody. You're just banks and you're Jamie Dimon, and you don't care at all about any of this stuff. You're a gazillionaire. You don't care about windmills. You care about the technology. You care about shorting an industry. You care about that. But you don't care about these people. This is not something that you show any interest in whatsoever. It means nothing to you. What does mean something to you is when somebody comes along and ruins your cause. And what people are saying at the height of what this left is, this woke, is they're saying, we never signed on to kids being sexually mutilated, gender reassignment. That has nothing to do with this. That bottom line, where did these people come from? This weird kind of a transcendental lunacy. What are we doing here? What is this? Now we've got this dotard. Then you've got Hunter Biden. We're going to lose this. And what's happening? Bobby Kennedy, one of our own, is basically going to take it away from us because of the idiocy that you, the Democratic Party, have allowed to occur when we turn this over to you. We are a parasite. The shadow government does not care which cell it invades, which body it invades. It doesn't matter. It's there to take over, period. It doesn't care at all about anything that you are interested in. It doesn't care if the world freezes over. It doesn't matter. Sparky says, why doesn't the establishment allow Joe to resign now? They are. It's coming. Are they afraid that Kamala is a loose cannon who won't obey them? Absolutely not. Kamala is more pliant than Joe. They don't care who. Just here's a pen. Sign this. Brandon, I cannot pronounce your name, folks. Scranton's dementia is 50% work, like the chin. You know, I was just watching a documentary before about Vinny Chin Gigante, Chinzino. And thank you for that. No. Here is the thing. Remember, one of the things that you have to do, and what I would do is, they've got to bring in Gavin Newsom. Why? Gavin Newsom is somebody who can come in and talk to you about something. Gavin Newsom will be there. Gavin Newsom knows he has been primed for this his whole life. Somebody somewhere is going to do the following. Watch what happens. First, at a given time, I don't know when, you're going to see the following. Number one, imagine we have a meeting. I represent the entire contingent of the shadow government. Again, banks, credit people, you name it. We are. Think of huge Bilderberg. Remember the BIS in Basel, Switzerland, the Bank of International Settlements. That's the central bank of central banks. This is about money. It's about reinvestment. It's about the Great Reset. It's about a lot of things. Talked to somebody last night who said, we need somebody to go in there and who can tell China what to do. Nobody's going to tell China what to do. You want to cooperate with China. Let me try this. Let me try this one more time, okay? Let me see if I can explain this. And let me just take a step. When you're talking about realism, what is it that motivates you? Foreign policy realism is, let me explain to you what's happening. Give you an example. Let me give you an example. Mrs. L will tell you, I will tell you, and I speak on my own, not on behalf of her or the Warriors or anything that she does. Human trafficking today, let me just say this, irrespective of sound of freedom or whatever it is about money, it is about commerce, it is about, granted, satisfying the demented needs of sick people, but what motivates it is what motivates drug dealing. It's what motivates any kind of trafficking. It is not about evil, Satan, the devil, any other nonsense. You're missing the point. These people who say, we got to go after the pedophiles. It's not about the pedophiles. We're talking about international cartels. There are people in Mexico, there are Mexican cartel members who are as anti-pedophile as you can imagine. If you ever tried that with one of their children, they are very, very, many of these people, very traditional in what they like and don't like. They're not too crazy about the LGBTQ folks. They're not. So people pick the wrong names of stuff. That's not what this is about. What do you think? Listen to me. What do you think the destruction of our border is? Do you think that was a Joe Biden design? No. Why do you think people want our borders destroyed? Why? One of the most important people who is, you know how people love to say Fauci is the, whatever it is. Please. Mayorkas. Mayorkas is, you like the word evil? Okay, he's evil. He knows the routine better than anybody. You put him there and he says, I'm going to make sure that I keep this constant invasion open. It's like having AIDS. Your immune system is turned off. Our immigration protection service is like an immune system. It prevents invasion. This is the guy. Why do you think this is? Because they're evil? No. It's very simple. If Joe Biden all of a sudden is removed and Kamala Harris gets in there, or Susan Rice, or Jean-Pierre, it doesn't matter. Here's a pen, here's a pencil, sign the legislation. We have all of the people put in that we need. We've got the Department of Justice taken care of. We've got this. It doesn't matter who it is. Joe, go home, go to Wilmington, have your dog bite people. It doesn't matter. You don't matter. What matters now is that your son, we didn't see this coming. This is causing us a lot of problems. This has got to be fixed immediately. Period. End of discussion. That simple. Period. Period. Somebody was saying yesterday, I was talking to a friend, we need somebody, who's going to get tough with China? You don't want to get tough with China. You want to work with China. You want to get tough with them? What are you talking about? You think you're going to outdo China? You got to figure this thing out. What is this? People still talk about, we're going to go in and tell them what to do. I saw something on Twitter recently. Today, as a matter of fact, you see these social credit scores where you walk down the street in China, someplace, and they have names of people being scrolled who have violated their system. It's coming here. That's why they want to put somebody like Gavin Newsom in, who's smooth, who comes in and just knows what to say, and he can just calm people. Let me tell you what you're going to see right now. You're going to see a titular, theoretical, kind of a glossy attempt at crime prevention. We've got to do something about crime. Watch next how the people in charge will all of a sudden say something that you've been screaming about forever. What? Yes, we have to do something about crime. Now you notice? Now we notice. Yes, crime. What? You're going to think, but where have you been? Doesn't matter where I've been. Watch what happens. And Bobby Kennedy is changing this. So everything is accelerating. These are exciting times. So remember, when you're listening to there's something in your wall, you're not a carpenter, you're not a structural engineer, but you hear cracking and crunching, and you're starting to see holes. You say, this thing's going to fall. What, are you an expert? If you see a woman who is very pregnant, holding her belly, crying, and you're thinking, she could very well, I think she's in labor. I think her water broke. What are you, a guy? I know about these things. I know. Yesterday, or the day before, when was that crane in New York the other day? There was a crane. Yesterday. And everybody became an expert on construction, buildings, cranes, negligence, nobody said, excuse me, are you an expert in this? You see, sometimes we can see buildings collapse. We know about war. We understand rudimentary vaccine studies. People are pretty smart. How do I know this? Because they're expert witnesses. They're juries. They listen to cases involving a lot of stuff. What you are seeing right now is the end of the Biden regime, but not the end of the woke shadow government. And by the way, woke is a term we use too much. Woke is our racist. You know how everybody uses the word racist on the woke left? Everything's, you're a racist, he's a racist. Woke is being used too much. Woke is being used too much, and woke is something that doesn't even remotely address what's happening right now. So let me tell you something. There is good news. Maybe God looked down on this country and said, okay, watch what happens. And it's delicious. Now, if I could write the script, I would take Tucker Carlson. Who's Tucker Carlson? Who was Ronald Reagan? Sparky says, best thing is to trade and compete with China. Remember, the U.S. moved its industry there in the 90s. China didn't ask for it. Well, that's true, but that was part, Sparky, and by the way, thank you. That was part of Kissinger and that kind of a new way of trying to prop China up, thinking we could come somehow control them. You see, what nobody listens to, let me stop, and I'm glad you brought this up. Let me just pause for 1 second. I mentioned to you realism and what is foreign policy realism. One of the things I would love to do, and I would make sure I knew how to do this. If I were the president, I would say, I want you to come in and I want you to explain to me explain to me what the Chinese mentality is. There are psychological dossiers about Xi Jinping. Remember when his father, who was a party favorite, who was arrested, what does he want? What's his legacy? Tell me what he wants. I heard somebody the other day talk about the quote, and I'm going to use this term, Israeli occupation right now. And I recognized they had no earthly idea of what they were talking about. And I ask this question, and remember I'm telling you this, whenever you meet somebody, especially when there's a group of people, I want you to say, by the way, you seem to know a little bit about this. If you could snap your fingers right now, whether it's Israel, whether it's France, by the way, you notice how you notice how the riot stopped? Oh yeah, remember that with Macron the other day? What happened with that? Remember the yellow vest? Oh yeah. What happened? Are they happy now? Remember the Canadian truck drivers? Whatever happened with that? See, these things, they come and they go. But anyway, so I asked my friend, I said, what would you do regarding the, quote, occupation, Israeli occupation? What would you do right now? Tell me. Couldn't answer the question. What? You want Israel in, out, Palestinians in? Who are the Palestinians? What's the history? Why is it there? Had no idea. He just signed on to this bumper sticker stuff and said, that's it. And please, this is it. There's a lot. I'm just giving this as an example. I said, do you understand how complicated? Do you understand what this is right now? Do you know the history? Do you know what's going on regarding this? Do you know a little bit about, let me ask you something. These people, this media that you detest, this media whom you don't believe, this media, this sock puppet media that you abhor, and you don't believe anything they're saying about anything, you take everything they're saying about the Palestinian Authority and Abu Mazen and all these people without question? How do you do that? How do you think that all of a sudden, these people, ABC, whatever, they know nothing? But when it comes to this, translation, my dear friends, it's far too complicated. Far too complicated. But let me go back to my dream. Tucker Carlson. I got to put him in the boot camp. I got to deprogram him. I got to deprogram Tucker. Why is he important? Ronald Reagan. Where did Ronald Reagan get his start from? When he traveled the world, remember during the GE, when he worked for GE, he got that. Yeah, he was an actor, but that's not what made him Ronald Reagan. The number of people who were in entertainment. What was Zelensky? What was it? Servant of the people, whatever. Who is Kolomoisky? He created Zelensky out of what? Entertainment. It would be like Martin Sheen being the president of a new coalition because he was whatever it is. Tucker Carlson pulling people from the right. Bobby Kennedy pulling people from the left. And do me a favor, if ever you want to see an example of how not to conduct an interview, watch Sean Hannity with if you can stand it, with Bobby Kennedy. If ever you want to see, this is what you do not do. This is what somebody who has no... Life is about hostage negotiation. Life. What do I mean by that? When you talk to a hostage taker, the person, the captor, the first thing you do is you don't insult them. You show respect, and you have them lower their guard. And then they come forward. And you pretend as though you empathize, you understand with what they're saying. Your job is not to determine who is right and wrong. Your job is to get those people out. But the first thing you do, and they did it with Saddam Hussein and others, is you go in there and you say, they don't understand it, do you? They don't understand your plight. They don't get you. I do. And what happens immediately? Ah, good. Terrific. Relax. Now let's talk. Because if I'm going to catch you saying something stupid, it's not going to be when you're tensed up, ready to go. So going back, this is my dream. Tucker Carlson. Why can't he be vice president? Ronald Reagan. He was governor. You don't need Donald Trump. Hello. Stop it. Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy is an enigma. Bobby Kennedy is not exciting. Bobby Kennedy is not even remotely, to me, but he's a rock star. Look at the pictures from where we were the other night. Rabbi Shmuley has it on his Twitter account. Look at the people. You can see us. I'm looking at my phone. Mrs. L is looking intently, and I'm saying, let's get the hell out of here. Let's get out of here. Let's beat the crowd. Because remember, you don't have to eat the whole egg to know it's rotten. I knew immediately. I got it. I never leave movies early or plays. Well, there's one play I left early. One. It was horrible. One. But that's it. But this, I could see where we were going with this. Especially when people start asking questions. It's stupid. But let me go back to what I'm saying. Donald Trump redefined rallies and politicking like nobody's business. He did something that he did things that were just he made the rally an event, a sporting event, a cultural event. He showed a genius the likes of which nobody's ever even seen before. Nobody has seen this. It's incredible. This would change everything. Gavin Newsom spews this slick hair. And Gavin Newsom, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what's going on. Gavin Newsom thinks I'm handsome, I'm slick, I'm cool, I'm cooler than you. I'm from the California Mafia. The Newsoms, Browns, D'Alessandros, that group. Read the history of these folks. Bobby Kennedy will say, I know a little bit about dynasty. Trust me when I tell you that. I know a little bit about this too. Watch what happens. Newsom is very susceptible. And Newsom, I'm not going to go too much into this because I don't know how important this is. But I would have, and everybody knows his history with his wife, his previous wives, and they know everything about him. Everything. Everything. And he better be careful. That's all I'm saying. Bobby Kennedy will destroy him. Gavin Newsom can't do this. Gavin Newsom has basically been an absentia. He can't do this. Tucker Carlson will go out and kill. He knows how to play people. You have to be a communicator today. You have to be a communicator. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody has that talent. Bobby Kennedy, for theoretically, is not exciting. But I don't know, there's this connection. People like him. People like him. Spencer Tracy, in my book, was the greatest actor who ever lived. Why? Because Spencer Tracy had this thing that nobody had. People loved him. And he was so believable. And let me tell you this. Let me leave you with this. Let me leave you with this. The most important role ever, the most powerful role ever, and the smartest thing that Donald Trump could ever do to save this country, save this generation, save us, is to say, I'm not going to be president again. I'm going to be the elder statesman. Have you ever heard the eminence grise, the gray eminence, the statesman? I can do more with a rally, with a tweet. I can endorse people. I can be a kingmaker. Being president is not how you change things. Let me say this again. Being president is not how you change things. So, my friends, I have to do a live broadcast coming up. Forgive me. My apologies for any of the interruption in this, whatever it is. Thank you for your, please, I need your likes. We need, if it's at all possible, I need 300, well, 400 would be terrific, but you are terrific. You give me hope every day to carry on. You light up my life. I think Debbie Boone said it best. Bless you for this. Bless you for your fortitude and your courage and your absolute intrepidity and your intellectual lethality. Thank you for this. We're going to win this thing. I'm telling you, these are great times. Just be patient and know what to look for. And don't watch cable news. Only watch cable news the way you drive by and look at degenerates defecating in the open. Just to get an idea. But that's it. Move on. Don't dwell on it. Just to say, okay, I saw that. That was enough. That's all you need. They are there to contaminate your mind. Sparky says, Spencer Tracy was like somebody you know. Indeed. Sparky, thank you so much. And thank you to our other friend, too, whose name I cannot pronounce. And I don't want to be crude or suggest it, but to Mr. Brendan de Foyt, I don't know if that's Brazilian. I have no idea. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, dear friends. Have a great and a glorious day. See you tonight at 7 p.m. Don't forget, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta. I got to restart my computer. My